Hey guys, welcome to Truth Talkin' Thursday. We're back. Introductions are over, so it's time to get down to business now. It's there's going to be smoke rolling, and it's just going to be a wild thing that you see. No, I'm just kidding. It's all good. It's going to be calm, relatively, and that's that.
No human
So,
sacrifices.
No human sacrifice.
Okay.
No violence. We
No,
established
that's
that
good.
last week. There's
Yeah,
no
no
violence.
violence, no violence.
I did question Jim a little bit about that, last week about the whole violence thing, and that this was off camera, of course. So we determined that just wasn't, that's no good, no good. We're not about violence. So it's kind of fun to talk about it, but yeah, honestly, you know what? I have never hit somebody.
Really?
I've never hit somebody. And you know what? I got a, what do you call it? The bags.
A dummy?
You hang it from the ceiling. Don't laugh at me.
Anybody you know?
Well, oh yeah, he did.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No. Those,
A heavy
the
bag.
red, yeah.
It's a heavy bag.
So it had gloves and, tape to wrap yourself all up and everything. And you know what? That was the funnest thing ever for me.
Yeah.
When I was mad, I'd go downstairs. It was hanging from the ceiling. And I'd go down there and just beat the poo-poo out of it. Like, wow. Anyway, okay, off topic. So,
No, that's... Hey.
Jim's got he's got a thought for this week, so let her go, Jim.
Take it away. Well, I was talking to Jane a little earlier, and Jane and I are both motorcycle enthusiasts. It's not an easy word to say, actually. Enthusiasts. Yes. And we both really enjoy riding and all that kind of thing. And this past week, I had an opportunity to see a clip on the news about an up-and-coming trend in the United States. All good things come from the United States, apparently. So anyway, this isn't really a happy story, but it's one that kind of resonates with both of us. And basically what it was there's a sort of a gang that's pretty mobile in upstate New York, around the city of New York actually, but in the suburbs and stuff like that, who there's 60 or 70 of them, and they have a name for themselves. I couldn't tell you what it is, but they call themselves something soldiers, or freedom for justice soldiers. Anyway, there's nothing free about it. But what they do is they go out onto the highways and basically take the highways over, throughways, all that sort of stuff, and they're popping wheelies going down the road, and this is at speeds of upward 120, 130, 140 k's. Very much a danger to all the people that are on the road. And I must say I kind of started talking to the TV, and I don't usually do that unless I'm really upset about something that I'm watching. So I was
Sure?
chattering away at the box, and because I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and the police are basically have been rendered not sort of certainly by their own choice, but by law, by freedom, and all this kind of stuff, and there's nothing really that they feel that they can do about this. They've agreed to not, a long time ago I guess, they agreed to not get involved in high-speed chases on the road with motorcycles, especially crotch rockets, and that's all these guys ride. They don't ride normal motorcycles, they ride those other things, and so there's not much that they say that they can do about this, and the guys come out on the highway with no license plates on the bike, so they can't be tracked and all this kind of stuff. And I got into a discussion about what needs to happen here. How do we as a citizenry, how do we stop this? Because it's dangerous. People are going to die here in car accidents, and I mean, I really don't care if somebody on the bike gets killed. That's up to them. If they're that stupid to kind of carry on like that, then I guess the consequences are what they are. But innocent people, families, different times of the day, people coming home from work, people going to work, little kids in cars, and all this kind of thing. And so it's really disturbing. And so one of the things that I wanted to get some thoughts about was from my co-host here, is if she was in a position to do something about it, what would she do? How do we go about stopping these people from taking over the highways and just being idiots at high speeds? I mean, they're traveling at some instances apparently at 180K. bobbing and weaving in and out of traffic, impeding other people on the roads from going. They'll pull in front of the cars and then they slow right down to about 30K, crawling around along the highway. Other cars are coming up at much higher speeds. So it's just a mess, and now it's beginning to spread. This is happening in different states along the seaboard, and it's really kind of an untenable situation. So so I'm going to ask Jane I talked briefly about this before we come on the air here, and it took her about 38 seconds to get her blood pressure gone from normal to through the roof sort of thing. So. So I figured this would be a pretty good topic to talk about today. You know, it's
fair enough.
So to
fair
be
enough.
slowing her down would be the biggest problem, I think. But anyway, what would you do? I mean, how do we impress upon these folks that this is behavior that you can't tolerate?
You know what? In all honesty, listening to you talk, like, my mind is going a mile a minute, as you well know. That's what often happens. It's just everywhere right now.
Speeding ticket coming up here. But,
kind of.
Anyway.
But I was trying to narrow it down into something simple instead of just going off on a rampage of feeling. But I think just with what you said, what it kind of made me think about is, you know, the way our society is set up, the police have a job to do. And you better darn well figure out how to do that job. And I think, you know, like, one of your last comments was that this is expanding up and down the seaboard. Well, of course it is. If nobody's getting stopped, of course nothing's going to happen. And of course more people are going to say, hey, this looks like fun. And they're getting away with it, so why can't I? It's like with anything, right? One ruins it for all. And I think what kind of ticks me off about some of this stuff is that, you know, bikers can have a bad reputation with some people. We're just all bad. Well, the funny thing is, being raised the way I was, I had that same attitude until I became a biker and got to know many people. And I thought, wow, you know, this biker community, they're actually quite loving and quite nice. And to me, I felt proud to be part of that society where, you know, one of the things I thought was really interesting when I studied for my M license was that handbook. And I used to laugh when I was still in the church. I used to laugh when I saw bikers go past on the road and do the whole, you know, peace sign thing. And I used to think, what idiots, you know, they're just trying to be cool. They can't possibly know that many people. Well, I didn't know what it meant. But even reading that handbook, it says it's a sign of recognition to the other rider and saying, safe ride, my friend. Yep. And I thought, wow, is that ever cool? It's like a universally understood greeting. There's nothing cool about it.
It's like a fraternity, actually.
Yeah.
You know, like a group of folks that don't know each other, but they're,
Yeah.
You know.
So hearing something like this really irritates me, obviously. Wow!
Yes.
Because it's so unfair and so thoughtless for the people around, you know, like, I know there have been several close calls that I've had personally or that have happened to the group I've been riding with. And, you know, some of us as bikers get attitudes towards the cars too. Like, you jerk, watch where you're going, like,
Yep.
Open your eyes.
Yep.
Well, the flip side of the coin is true as well. There's some idiot bikers. And, you know, thinking about the story you told me, you know, the biker slowed down, irritating the car bumped him, and then the bikers freaked out on the person that bumped him. Well, if you weren't being a jerk, he wouldn't have done that. Like, it's a vicious circle, but you can't focus on the circumstances, you have to focus on the solution.
Okay.
And there's the thing, right? Like,
so let me give these wonderful people the second half of the story, because there is a second half to the story. The second half to the story is this one car that Jane was just talking about, this young fellow. And these guys average age from about 16 or 17 to about 30. Guys that should really kind of know better, but anyway. And the one guy slowed down in front of this SUV, right down to about 15, 20, 30K, and the guy didn't know what to do, and he kind of panicked a little bit, and so he sped up a little bit. Anyway, long story short, he clipped the back of this guy's bike. Now, this is a young man in the car with his wife and his 2-year-old daughter in the back seat. So anyway, the guy got all bent out of shape. That got clipped. I mean, it was his fault anyway. But so anyway, one thing led to another, and this guy decided to try and get off the highway. So he got off the highway. The guys, most of them, followed him off the highway, and eventually they tracked him down in some little town or a little part of the city, the out part of the city, and managed to stop him. And after some altercations and all that kind of stuff, this guy in the car again panicked when he saw all these guys coming toward him, stepped on the gas and ran over one of the guys in his bike, broke the guy's leg. So the ringleader of this merry little group of people took his helmet off and smashed the window out of the door and opened the door and dragged the guy out into the street, and they just beat the living daylights out of him in front of his wife and his little 2-year-old girl. Put him in the hospital and all this sort of stuff. So that's the other side of the story, and that's where this is going to, and it's just lawlessness, and it's just wanton violence for violence sake, and nobody is spared, and nobody is given any sort of consideration other than tough kind of thing. So that's when I had to kind of strap Jane in her seat for a little while to kind of calm her down a little bit. And so we're at the point now. I've made 3 suggestions, and I'll make them quick right at the end of this as to how we might go about kind of beginning to kind of curtail this. But what if you were in a Grand Poobah for a day? What would you do? How would you stop this or slow it down?
Honestly, I feel like I would need to gather more information, for one thing, to find out exactly how big this is, how far it goes. And I think there are resources available in law enforcement and Secret Service agencies and all these. There are tons of ways that we have available for our police officers. There's people that have infiltrated the Hells Angels. There's people that have done many different undercover things like that. There has got to be a way to get involved and shut this down very quickly and efficiently. Personally, I know that if I was to start to spout off what I would do, I don't think I know, because I've never been put in that. But I know I have heard enough and have read enough and watched enough documentaries that, to me, there's no reason that this can't be handled quickly, efficiently, and shut this down. And I think that's what needs to be done. It needs to stop.
Okay. What I suggested, and probably my solutions are a little more violent than yours.
Woohoo! Who's strapping who down?
But what I suggested is something along this line where the police need to be given greater power. And I know that in the States especially, that's a topic of discussion. That's a whole other topic of discussion. I would not want to be a police officer in the States. But what they need to do is, for those folks that they can charge, for those folks that they can apprehend, I think the first thing that you do is you charge them with reckless, careless driving, and then you take them to the courts, at which point the courts relieve that guy of his driver's license for the remainder of his life. So it's a first offense, first time, you're banned from driving a motorcycle. You know, if you want to drive a car, that's not quite the same, but this is a crime that was perpetrated on a motorcycle. You've lost your right to ride that motorcycle anymore. And then you take the motorcycle itself down to the local wrecking yard and you put it in one of those big squishing things and you turn it into a cube of steel garbage, basically.
But they're so pretty.
That's the first time.
I think they should give all of the bikes to me.
Actually, I wouldn't ride one. I think they're hideous, but
I
anyway,
think it would be
that's
fun
just
to see
me.
how fast they go.
See,
okay, my bad.
I'm a little older, so I need the easy chair bike, you know, the kind of the cruiser type.
The trike?
Second time, yeah, that would work. Second offense. So let's say that the guy is stupid enough to go out and try to ride, you know, unbeknownst to the cops, because they don't seem to have a lot of sense about cops and law and all that sort of stuff. So if he gets caught and charged again, the second time around, there's a hefty fine, and I'm not talking about a wrist slapper. It's not $75. Don't do it again. I'm talking about maybe 10 grand, you know, You got to mortgage your house. I don't care what you got to do to get the money together, beg, borrow, or steal it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But it's very substantial. That money kind of goes to the homeless folks in the area, or the food banks, or whatever. It doesn't go into the city coffers. It goes to people that really need the money. And along with that, there's a period of probation. So you're on probation now for 2 years, and every weekend you'll do community service work in the community that you live in. And I thought about a sandwich board saying I'm an idiot and this is what I did, but I don't think that we need to do that. I don't think that demeaning the guy like that is really kind of a great thing. But anyway, so he gets to give back to the community that he's been terrorizing for the last however long. The third instance is should he in some be connected to a homicide or an accidental death, or you know, there's an accident, because there's going to be an accident at some point, and some people are going to die here. And if you ever see the video, there you can go onto YouTube. There's several videos on there of what happens and how just.
Can we find that?
Sure.
I bet you we can find that.
We can find it.
And we can maybe attach it, like maybe not attach it to this, but we can post it when we post this.
We could do that.
We can post that video with it so you can watch that and then see what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know how to do
maybe
that.
Your blood will boil too.
Well, it is, but you see how red my face is? That's what that is. Anyway, so should he be involved in an accident, or should he cause an accident where somebody in a vehicle, because of his actions, dies? I think he's just taken into the court system, and he's charged with either, I had thought at one point, second-degree murder, and I know that that's a really strong kind of holy cow. But what's he done to the other person who's dead? But I settled on a degree of manslaughter, and he does time. He does federal time, and
it's on his record.
Yeah, it goes on his record, and he's just cooked. So he's in control all the way through the process. He's in control of what happens to him next, and if he continues to do what he's doing, then the system, the environment, the community of human beings around him have spoken, and they'll sanction him. Will it stop? I don't think it'll stop it, because I think you're always going to have idiots out there that are going to do this. Will it slow it down? I think it will. I think if you're standing, first of all, if you're standing on the precipice of this big hole in the ground, and you see your bike come out of one end of a crusher that's about maybe 2 foot square, you know, steel garbage and junk that's tossed into a hole or tossed into a furnace, and it becomes, I don't know, garbage pails or something like that at some point. I'm not sure that wouldn't kind of change your mind about whether or not you'd want to do it again, and other people are going to say, gosh, if they catch me, they're going to do the same thing to me. So somehow, some way, we need to slow it down, and I'm thinking that may be 2 or 3 ways of beginning to slow it down. They need to stop and think about what they're doing, and they're obviously not doing it.
I think that's very true, and I think I definitely agree with that. I think the punishment needs to be more severe, in a nutshell. And that's that.
Good.
So take that. That's the truth of the matter there.
That's the truth of the matter. Check out the information on how to get a hold of what we've done here today, and we will have attached a video to it if you're interested at all in terms of what we're talking about today. So, and then see what you would do. What would be your suggestions as to how to curtail this kind of behavior on the highways? Because it's coming to Canada too. You just know if it's that close to the border and they're doing it there, there's going to be a lot of idiots here that'll want to do the same thing.
For sure. So if you've got thoughts, post it on, you can go on my website, which is janeturdick.com, and go on my blog, and that's where this talk will be posted. And I'll try and find that video and post that as well. Yeah. And post your comments.
Yep. We'd really like to hear what you got to say about that and what your ideas are and how to do it.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a hot topic. So have a great week, and we'll do this again next week. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Thanks.